check out what we got. Hey, you want to see it? Check this out. Look, $40 welder. We picked up a $40 welder off the classifieds. Thought we'd just go through it, make sure everything's working on it. Should be. I mean, this stuff never dies. Clean it up a little bit and use it. You know, cut up a 40-foot cord, extension cord on it. Probably 15-foot lead. Yeah, on each side. That looks like, you know, that might even be 20. But a good old Craftsman. It's that'll date it. Simpson Sears. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking this is mid-60s. But we'll see. We'll go through, clean it up, make sure everything works on it, and play with it for a minute. You excited for a new welder? I did notice we do have to take it apart just because this slide doesn't want to go down below 100, 110. It kind of gets stuck, so probably just needs to be lubed up or cleaned up on the inside. Looked it up real fast. So all Sears products, Sears never made anything themselves, and the model number, the first 3 digits of it, is a code to tell you who's made it, and it's 113, which is Emerson Electric. So Emerson Electric made this for Craftsman / Sears. But let's clean it up. It looks like a ton of flathead screws all over the place. Overall, this thing doesn't look like it has a ton of use. If you just look at the stinger, it's not worn down at all, which makes sense for homeowner stuff. We have a nice Tweco solid brass ground clamp. The ground cord, the power cord, the length has been extended with an electric range stove cord, but it actually looks good. It feels good in there. I might open it up, but I'm not worried about that at all. So the story behind it is I got it from, I think it was the grandkids, just cleaning up Grandpa's estate, throwing away a ton of his stuff and just cleaning stuff up, which seems to be the case. So let's just take off a million flathead screws all the way around and open it up. All the screws are out. My prediction is there's a transformer about this size and the rest of this is just empty space. Let's see. Wow, this is thick steel. Look at that. Look how much wasted space. I have not plugged this in, and the people I got it from, the grandkids that I picked it up from, they didn't plug it in either. They sold it as non-working. They don't know. Okay, it will go up, but it will not go down. The problem is so simple. It's unbelievable. You won't believe this. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Let me turn this for you. It is actually the ground wire. The ground wire loops around, and it's just binding down because there's a little retainer here. So this got pulled out, and the retainer right here, it just slid. So somebody pulled on the ground cable excessively hard. If we just slide that back up and just put the zip tie right here so it doesn't slide down through that. Look at that. Now we get full range of motion. We can go all the way down. That's as low as it goes. Doesn't touch. We can give it even a little bit more. That's it. The problem is super simple. Now it'll go up. It'll adjust. It'll go down. There. Who knows? Now if I put that on, now when it clamps down, it'll really clamp down. Just take some dry graphite lube and I just kind of sprayed it. Kind of sprayed it on there, and now this thing is moving beautifully. I'm going to take some steel wool and just kind of clean off the tarnish off these brass contacts. Okay, I'm looking at this fan motor. It's definitely stiff. Notice this right down here. I'm like, oh, is that the oil hole? Old motors used to oil them all the time. And then I looked at this and I'm like, wait a minute. Is this a hose? There's a hose attached to the top oil hole. And it probably used to stick out up above so you could inject oil from up there. So, it's probably never been oiled. Look at that. There's probably used to be one on the bottom one too that sat there. Maybe, maybe not. So we're going to pour some oil in there. Oil that up. So the motor spins nice and free and lasts forever. I'm just going to put in some like machine oil. It's just oil, not WD-40. Oil 3 months. Use SAE 20 oil. Do you think this thing's been oiled every 3 months? Okay, I flipped it around. This is the main on-off switch. So you got the contacts. This is metal up here. They slide up and go onto there. So I put a little graphite, just dry graphite lube, just right on those. So now, before, it was only actually contacting up about that far. But then once I lubed it, now when you do it, it goes all the way up. So you get a good contact. Everything looks clean. There's really no corrosion of sorts. There is one thing down here we might need to address. Let me show you. This is where your stinger plugs in. You got an A and a B port for high and low, and the Bakelite plates are cracked. Does it really make a difference? Probably not, because it doesn't look like it's more of a cosmetic thing, I think. Just trying to think if there's something I could put across there to bridge. It's just there's nothing. There's a bolt up here and one down here that holds it, and then there's a bolt in the middle that holds the two plates together. And I guess that's cracked where they did that. So you can plug it in. Actually, it doesn't go. I thought it went in further. Actually, doesn't even stick out the back. Okay. So I pull that off halfway. You can see there's just this brass piece right here. This is just connected directly to this. So this is just keeping it kind of located. So this screw, that screw, and there's one down here. Those 3 screws are what holds these together, but the top screw and the bottom screw actually go through the plate behind. There's a plate right here, but the middle screw does not. The middle screw seems like it's not going through that plate at all. So I think if I make that middle screw, if I take off this front plate and make that middle screw go through here, or just screw it, maybe just right from the outside, I think that will hold that entire assembly, because it's just flexing outwards, and then we can hold that entire assembly against. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Take this piece that came in from behind, flip it, and we should see where that screw hole is. It's right there. And I'm not worried about the cosmetics of the front, because the front's already, I mean, there's supposed to be a screw right here, but if anything, that's going to hold this down a little bit better, and there's already screw holes up here and stuff. So it should be right there. Beautiful. Okay. If you've never seen the baking soda and super glue trick, it kind of makes, it fills in cracks really well, and it kind of creates like an epoxy. The super glue, the baking soda gives it something to crystallize around, and you can just keep making layers. It's kind of cool. Watch this. Plug in the top one. It's all the way in. There's no movement. I mean, the entire thing is moving together like it should. Nice. So now I'm going to address the cord. Originally was not going to touch the extension cord, the cord out of the back of it, but I think I'm going to put it back to the short original. And the reason is I don't like, they didn't utilize the original like stress, anti-pull through stress contact right there. I don't know if just these were just in there. Maybe it was just those. I don't like how they got the ground wire just kind of clamped under that bolt. And then this right here, I don't think this is original to this machine because there's one on the back. I think the cord used to come up and over. So I think I'm going to cut this off, this extension they put in there, probably like 30 feet or something. And make that, if I want to use that, I'll turn that into an extension cord by itself. And just put it back to the original cord length, which was probably like, 7 to 10 feet. First thing I will say is I can tell just by unwrapping this electrical tape, this is 3M Super 33. The best electrical tape you can buy because it never dries out. You buy like that Harbor Freight stuff and all the adhesive just wears right off, and then this stuff just falls off and you can't ever get it off into a piece. Look at that. Beautiful, like the day it was put on. That's why you only buy good electrical tape. Let's see how good a connection they did there. Not my favorite. So, good thing I'm playing with it. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It would work. Now we can take the original cord and stick it back through here. So, wiring 240 volt appliances is actually just as easy as 110 in the US, because all there is the power just goes through two. The power just balances off these two. It's just these two wires, and then that's your ground. And unless you need 120 or 110, you go off there to there, there to there. But this is just 240. It's just three wires, just exactly like a regular, extension cord you would wire up just 110 in the US. There's nothing to it. We got my strain relief hooked back up on everything. Everything should be good to go. These probably originally just sat here and did nothing. They don't really touch, even if you jostle them around. But we'll take some heat shrink and just slide that over and just heat shrink them together real fast. Okay, I think everything's buttoned up and ready to go. I will say that I've restored quite a few of the Lincoln Tombstones. I have a couple videos on them. And this is a way better welder. I'll tell you that right now. This is a way better welder than the Lincoln Tombstones. Or I've done a few that are, they have infinite controls. It's just not like contacts. They have infinite controls, and those use a shunt system. I don't really like those. I did one, I think a video on like a year or two ago, made by Century. And not my favorite welders, but if you have, my favorites are the ones that have contacts like this, that that's just a set position, or you have just the different plugs to plug it in, which is the same thing. It's actually simpler just to have the different plugs in there, and it's actually quicker than switching. This is just to take your plug out and just plug it into another one. I actually really like those. So I guess the only thing to do right now is to plug this in and fire it up, see what happens. No boom. Okay, ready? That fan still seems a little bit stiff. There it goes. That oil's down to it now. Be careful what I touch, but... Oh wow, that moves actually a lot of air. Okay, let's get the ground clamp on there. And it looks like we're at 100, 110. That'll make it 110. If you move it down here, it'll be 100 and so on. Kind of steps up 10 or 20 as you go up, just moving it here to here. You move up the scale. We got about a 70-year-old electrode. 6011. Let's see if I can strike an arc. That's a happy welder. So I wasn't really planning on painting this, but I think I'm gonna. It's a nice welder. I want it to live on, so if I paint it, it'll look nice. People won't get rid of it. I like patina, but not everybody does. So I usually stock at least a couple hundred colors of spray paint, but I don't do a lot of blue, so that's the closest I have. It's gonna be a lot brighter. If I have to, I can come over it afterwards, but we're going to try this because I got 2 cans of blue that I'll never use. So we'll paint that, touch up some of this red. I'm just going to clean it up. We're just going to give that a rough scuff real fast and spray it. Easy enough. Okay, back up. Come on this side where it's not seen, where the rust doesn't go. This side. Come on, go this side. Come here. Over here. Come in. The dust is blowing the other way. Nope. Come in. I spent way too much time just trying to touch up all the letters and everything. Tried polishing this. The problem is you can't polish this really because this is it's a sheet of aluminum and then it's clear coated and then they screen print all this stuff on, and so you kind of polish it but you're kind of going through the clear coat, so it looks okay. Funny thing is like you see these little, like that right there, that's not me. That's the original paint mess up. They got like red bleed. They had red bleed down here or up there and down there because that's how they originally did it. They just kind of masked it off, spray painted it real fast, and we're done with it. Funny thing is, I was noticing these like rivets. I'm like, what are those? Was a, you know, was a metal model number plaque or something right there? No. Check this out. This is the ports for the oiling the motor. I hooked up a straw. So this was just dangling there. There was nothing on there. So this just hooks up here. And that is how you oil the motor. So I'll get a new straw for this other side. But isn't that cool? You're supposed to just stick your oil can up there, hold it against it, pump every once in a while. So I'll have to make a little tag or something either here or on the underside. But so where I get that little straw from, I never let anything go to waste, but there we go. Right there, fuel resistant, oil resistant, awesome little straw, and you get the last little bit of stuff out of your stuff and make that into something else, like a storage thing. I'll just attach this. There we go. It looks almost like a Miller blue, like Miller welders. I'm going to remove the whole wheel setup on here. I really don't like it. I think it's ugly. The weird thing is they mounted the wheels inboard a little bit because they have a nut right here. But this is a welder. Why they didn't just tack weld this here and then mount your wheels out to the edge and then maybe even just weld them? I don't know, but it's just a couple self-tappers. Looks like it was done, you know, since they're self-tappers, looks like it was done way later in life, you know, to try to make it easier. But I'm going to remove the whole thing. I don't know if I'm going to put any wheels on or not. Originally a wheel kit would have probably went in this big hole, you know, just a rod with just a round wheel, and back here as well. So it looks much better without those wheels, but I need wheels. So we got these. These are nice and slimline. You won't even notice them. These are rollerblade wheels. I use these all the time for things. So, rollerblade wheel. This is the original hardware. I jumped on the lathe and I made a little bushing. So that goes through the factory hole. And then they can just bolt on from underneath, and you can roll it forward or backwards, and they actually steer pretty easy. I've put them on other things before. Rolls effortlessly. Even goes up over bumps and stuff. Got an extension cord right here. Just a small one. Yeah, see? Moves around, and even though it's straight line, it's not hard just to tip it. Move it around. Nice. Let's throw down a couple beads and just make sure everything's working good. Okay, let's turn this cart into something usable. It should have been welded before. You see how far inbound these are? They should be out on the edge because they put nuts and bolts. You don't need nuts and bolts when you have a welder. So let's just tack it here. Take these, move them out to the outside, and probably just tack the corners. You don't even need to bolt them down. Look at all this hardware. I've seen a lot of, you know, carts made for welders. I've just never seen one that somebody completely bolted together. It's a perfect opportunity to learn to weld. So now we'll just take these casters, and you don't goober the welds on everywhere. You'll be surprised how strong a tack weld is. So we'll just tack the corners, then you can cut it off if you ever want to put this on something else. There we go. All the casters are now on the outside corners. Now you have a cart that's twice as stable. We're not going to use it for this. We're going to put it on something else. But there we go. We're not going to put it back on the welder, I mean. So I was able to find the, there's a little code down here. It says J63. So I'm assuming J is the 10th month, so 10th of 63, 1963. So I looked up into the 1964 Sears catalog, and there it is. 1964 Sears Craftsman Welder. I think it was $140 or something, but if you inflation calculate that, this would be about $1,500 is what this would have cost you back in the day. So that's a pretty big purchase for you know, a home shop. Hey Ginger, I dropped my marker. Hey, come here. Hey, will you get that for me? Ginger, will you get that for me under there? Will you get it? You bring it here, you put it in my hand. Will you get it? Look at this, right here. Look, put it in my hand. Oh, that's good, put it in my hand. You rock. That's my bad. That's my bad. Amazing dog. Not even prompted, I swear. She'll retrieve anything I drop. But yeah, write your dates on your stuff. 3-year warranty, advanced auto parts. So that belt breaks, I'm golden. See, I write everything.